5 Throwdown Thursdays. It's crazy.
I mean, once it got rolling, it's like it took on a life of its own, and then before you know it, you got all these I mean, there's been well over 100 matches on the Throwdown Thursday since February.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like so much talent in there. The guys are getting so many reps. I mean, it's kind of what we wanted, but it's like an accelerated version of what we thought it would be to kick off.
Yeah. What I really dig about it, and I was hoping to be the case, and it turned out to be the case, was how there's no shortage of opportunity to be creative. When you run 7, 8, 9 shows in a year, you tend to covet the creativity. You know, there's only so many ideas that you can use. There's only so many matches we can have, and when you're doing a show every single week, you know, it gives a chance for everybody to be more creative. Everybody to bring ideas for matches. Everybody to say, hey, I want to be in the ring with this guy or this girl or whatever. You know, I want to do a promo. I want this and that. There's so much more room for that, and I feel like everybody's getting better. I mean, I'd say in the last 6 months, I've learned more about how to do this than I did in the 5 years before that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not even an exaggeration at all. I feel the same way, because it's like now it never stops. Before, you know, we'd do a show and you'd have whatever 3, 4, 6 weeks in between for another one, and it's like, okay, but you can kind of click it off sometimes with the real world that needs to be dealt with, and then you click it back on when it's time to sit down and start writing. It's like writing a book. This is like a constant, every day. It's a process.
Yeah.
Because, you know, between the training of the training center, these guys are in here a couple days a week. Then you got the Thursday shows every single week. I mean, it's definitely it's one of those things where it's exactly what we wanted it to be, but a better version of what I thought.
Yeah.
And there's such a line of people waiting to get in here and experience it for themselves, and the fact that the fans are getting to digest Elite Pro every week.
Yeah.
It's like for us, if we're in here training 2-3 times a week, and we have our show once a month, 2 months. I mean, so many of these guys, these seasoned guys wrestling all over the place anyway. But when you neutralize it here to Elite Pro, I mean, for the longest time it was, once a month, twice a month, some training. But now it's all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have more than a 48-hour period where somebody's in an Elite Pro ring. It's great.
Well, from a promoter standpoint, promoting the shows, when we first started doing this, it's like as soon as a show's announced, you're on the road trying to hang posters, 75 posters in a 25 to 30 mile square area covering everything. You're reaching out, the phone's ringing off the hook. I get calls at 2:30 in the morning, someone thinking it's a hotline. And so you're like, hello? Hey man, gotta get some tickets? That kind of thing.
Especially now in like the social media era where there's another whole world of promotion.
Sure.
It's not about just paper in the towns, brother. Like that's not it anymore. That's like just one sideline note that you want to hit just for people that are seeing it in person, where they see it with their own eyes instead of sitting there, scrolling up a page.
Sure.
But that's still got to be a part of it.
Well, in the early days, every single day leading up to a show, there was something to do having to do with the show. And as we went on and got bigger and more successful, and then as you pointed out, the social media meant online ticketing, there was aspects of it that were on autopilot. So it wasn't something that, I know I didn't have to invest near as much time. It's like, oh, show's happening 6 weeks from now. I don't have to start doing things on a daily basis till a week or so out. Yeah. And now with this, there's a show, and a Thursday night when it's over, tickets are on sale that night. An hour after the show ends, tickets are on sale for the next week. So if there's not a poster out by Monday advertising what next week's Throwdown Thursday is going to be, it feels like a minor obligation, but it's a constant one to fill this room every single Thursday.
And it was such a happy accident, but a great problem to have, where people are leaving the show and either purchasing or reserving tickets while they're leaving for the next one. Like the fact that we are literally chain smoking people into the Elite Pro Wrestling Alliance because they have just digested an event and they're leaving and they're not even to their car and they're already committing to coming next week.
Yeah,
you gotta love it. Like the fact that these fans here in this tight knit area. I mean, as we can see in the Elite Pro Arena, like the fans are right on top of the ring. They practically feel like a tag team partner a lot of times.
Yeah,
because they're right there. So I mean, it's great. It's a great experience for the guys. And the cool thing is too is that I thought that it would be like you kind of said. It's overwhelming because it's all the time. So how do you be creative? How do you give people something different? How do you not keep going to the well one too many times? With you know, in the early days of wrestling, the golden era of wrestling in the 80s and 90s, and you'd hear a guy was married to another guy, and they would literally go around a 3-month loop where they had to wrestle each other every night.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, but here there's so many more opportunities to be creative that, as you said, when you're doing a once a month or a twice a month event, main event guys are going to want to go at it in a main event.
Sure.
But there's some guys that are trying to get that extra little something, and sometimes it's hard to break into that upper tier of matches in the main event, the second half, however you want to arrange it. But now, on a weekly basis, you have guys that are young talents, or guys that are coming from the outside, or guys that are just in the early months of their training, and they're finding themselves in deep waters in the main events of these events.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go in there and you take a guy that's been training 6 months, you put him in with a 15, 20, or in some cases with a guy like Blackhawk, a 30-plus year veteran.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden it's like, it's a league for a reason, pal. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you may be still trying to polish up your fundamentals, but here's a guy that's been doing it since before you were born. Good luck, because he's got all the skills in the world.
Yeah. Well, and we have a big fan base, especially for an independent professional wrestling company, and especially for one in this region of the country. It's a solid crowd, and I would argue that less than 20% of our overall fan base has gotten to experience a Throwdown Thursday. Whether it be because the shows sell out, whether it be because we're in Kaiser, and that can be hard for some fans to be able to commute to check out. So one of the things I just wanted to touch base on this, our broader fan base are familiar with Jason Raddatz, Shane Malice, Reggie Collins, Cisco, Danny DeVille. You go right down that line, they've seen them. They've been around for quite a while. Yeah. Everybody. But then there's a lot of folks that have been able to come to Throwdown Thursday at two opposite ends of the spectrum that our fans may have not seen if they haven't been here. On one end, you have Blackhawk, Shane Shadows, these guys that have been around, Brandon Scott, guys that have been around for a long time and come in and bring just literally their entire adult life worth of experience into the shows. And on the other end, we have the new class, the first class at Elite Pro, where you have Dallas Riggs, Andrew Stevens, KP McGregor. I always feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but
Lion Gray,
phenomenal
talent.
Yeah, and he's had the opportunity to be in front of the bigger fan base at times. But yes, absolutely, I definitely count him in that class. And we have these guys, as well as our new referees, CJ Graham and Cooper Lark, who are coming along and doing wonderfully. Just wanted to get your quick take on some of these guys. I'm going to start with Dallas Riggs.
Dallas Riggs, I had noted slightly last week, but it was like Dallas is one of those guys that's like a fly you keep swatting at, but you can't quite seem to catch. Yeah. And it's like right when you think you can just squash him, he takes off again. And it's like, it's fine. I'll let him buzz around me.
Yeah.
I can't take it. But what you see is what you get with Dallas Riggs, and I love the passion on one hand. And he's the first guy that's in here training. He trains before every show. He does blow-up drills. He wants to get as good as he possibly can. And when you meet him, you're like, this guy is a different fella.
He's a different cat, for sure.
But on the other hand, he's found himself in a position where he's earned the right to be a tag team champion at Elite Pro Wrestling Alliance. And did someone think 6 months ago that that's a combination that would ever happen? Probably not.
I think nobody was more surprised than Dallas.
But there's some things that are earned, and whether or not other people on the outside, they don't understand the work that goes into it, and that's something that I think, especially with pro wrestling in particular, but a lot of sports, people look at success and they think, oh, well, that was just handed to somebody, or that was a luck thing, luck of the draw, or it was something. No, it's one of those things where the work's never seen, but the payoff is what's in front of the people.
Yeah.
And Dallas Riggs has earned the right to be in the position to go after a tag team championship. And being the champion and defending the championship, it hasn't got any easier, because everybody that's up here, when there's newer guys, as soon as they start getting that momentum behind them for some success, they're holding them down and saying, work harder to push me up again. And and you don't have the option to just say, okay, I'm coasting now because I'm a champion. That doesn't happen, because everybody wants that spot. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, and on a personal note with Dallas, I've never seen the guy in a bad mood. Have you ever seen him? Ever seen him angry? Ever seen him lose his temper? Ever seen him lose his cool? Ever seen him lose his patience? He comes in, he works hard. thoroughly entertaining. I mean, I don't miss a Dallas Riggs match. And if somebody did again, like you said, somebody told me that 6 months ago, like what?
He's entertaining behind the scenes. He's entertaining in the ring. I saw him a few weeks ago at an after party singing with a band, just because Leslie Leatherman put him up to it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And he went,
stuff.
"Oh, okay, watch this." He literally, I mean, it's not hold your beer because he doesn't drink, but he went, "Here, hold this," and he hands him the water and goes walking up and just stands by the band, and they said, "Come on in," and he just leans in and starts singing. I was like, "It's Dallas Riggs."
Yeah, that sounds about
It's
right.
unbelievable.
Well, you mentioned it before. Let's talk about Lion Gray.
Lion Gray, you know, and he was at Elite Pro briefly a couple of years ago, and then made his return. Since he's made his return, it's like head and shoulders better than what he was. I mean, just athletically and knowledge wise and training wise, he busts his butt and puts the work in, and it's you know, he's such a phenomenal athlete. He's so unorthodox because he literally can do things that you don't think a human in your presence can do. You know, and a perfect example is that springboard cutter that he does.
Yeah.
From the apron, you see like that springboard. Traditionally, a guy goes straight up to the top, which is a phenomenally athletic move.
Yeah.
Into a move, he clears the top rope and lands one-footed every time on the middle rope on the inside to leap sometimes 3/4 of the way across the ring.
Yeah.
And hits this move, and it's like, how long are you able to stay in the air? Like
Yeah.
it's almost like once he's in the air, he's like a drone that just finds where he needs to go and executes. It's unbelievable.
Springs in his boots for sure. Yeah, absolutely. The Fear, Andrew Stevens, unfortunately under the tutelage of Dr. Douglas Crane.
Hey, Dr. Crane picks him though. I mean, like, look at the success he's had in nearly 15 years of Elite Pro. I mean, he has gone down the list and picked the most brutal guys you've ever seen,
Yeah.
including a stint with the Living Nightmare.
Yeah, I believe that was his first acquisition.
Yeah. But
let me do the list here real quick. Yeah, Sinister Cross, Draconis Diablo, the Backwoods Slaughterhouse,
Gangrel. I mean, the list,
yeah.
just goes on and on and on of guys that he has had under his tutelage, so to speak.
My favorite list, though, are the list of guys that got their hands on him over the years. I remember the first Grand Prix tournament when Sanjay Dutt did just a ridiculous splash off the top. He took a big boot from Anthony Athens in the face, hit right here on Thursday about 2-3 weeks ago.
I haven't seen anyone universally as disliked as Dr. Crane in the history of Elite Pro. I mean, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, you know, they call him Barney, and you know that he got put in a Barney suit coming up on about 10 years ago. And there are still fans that throw it up Thursday that show the Barney pictures and stuffed animals. And
Well, there's fans that aren't even old enough to have been alive at that time, but the folklore of that moment, and obviously he comes rolling out in that purple shirt, and immediately it's like, boom, there it is.
And about a month ago, right here, he made the mistake of informing everyone that his full name is Dr. Douglas Barnard Crane. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. KP McGregor, this guy, hard worker. I'm enjoying him. I see him improving every single week, and I'm a big fan of his new gear.
Yeah, he's a good athlete,
Yeah,
military veteran,
yeah,
comes in and busts his butt at training. I've seen it. I mean, and the thing is, at Elite Pro, at the training sessions, like, it's not, you don't just get in here and hit the ropes, and then you don't just take a few bumps. These guys are put through the ringer. I would put the gas tanks of our students right now, our trainees, whatever you want to classify them as, cardio-wise, with anybody on the independent circuit right now. They're without, you know, these guys come back and they're learning, and some guys are excelling very quickly, and they're capitalizing on opportunities and all the things that go about because they're training the moves, they're training the game plans, but the cardio is something that tends to fall by the wayside by a lot of people in wrestling, especially independent wrestling. These guys' cardio is, when you have a guy like the Fear, Andrew Stevens, at 300 plus pounds, walk back through the curtain without taking a deep breath after a 15 or 20 minute match against a guy like Jason Radatz or Brandon Scott, or like, that's when you know these guys are doing something right. And the training speaks for itself.
Well, and it has everything to do with those repetitions. Elite Pro Arena for Throwdown Thursdays, also the Elite Pro Training Center. It's located right here in downtown Kaiser, West Virginia. These guys are in here training 1, 2, sometimes 3 times a week. And that's not counting the Thursday night throwdown when they're in front of a live paying crowd of Elite Pro fans. And one of the things I really, really enjoy about that is how many fans, and also some of the wrestlers, more than some of them actually, but the fans come up and will say, you know, this gets me through the week. That hour at Throwdown Thursday, that hour at the Elite Pro Arena in Kaiser, like, that's the best part of my week. And sometimes when things are hard, I know I can get through there. I got a message yesterday from one of our fans that was unfortunately going to miss the show last night because he had some car trouble, and he sent a message saying, you know, I'm so glad I can catch up with everything Sunday night with the premiere of the show. That sounds like a shameless plug, but
yeah, but that's an entire rabbit hole to go down too. I mean, obviously the dedication the fans have for Elite Pro, but the dedication that Elite Pro has for its fans, and now we have the new episodes of Throwdown Thursday being put up and being available on YouTube every week, every Sunday night at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. It's a great way to keep up with what's going on here at Elite Pro.
And there's no GoFundMe on that. There's no Patreon on that. It's free. If you just go to youtube.com/EliteProUniverse and subscribe, then you get the alert every Sunday night at 9. You get a 30 to 40 minute episode of the show that took place, you know, the previous Thursday, with full commentary and coverage and a news spot on it. It's really great because there are fans of ours that can't make it to all the shows, and some fans, like we said earlier, can't make it to Kaiser to see any of the shows, but they can keep up with what's going on every single week, and it better prepares them to know what's going to happen when they can get to Short Gap. Or if we go to Petersburg or Moorfield or Romney or any of the other places the Elite Pro's gone to run some big shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of big shows, what do you think September the 1st? That's going to be pretty awesome. Main event, I guess a double main event at this point. We don't know who TJ Sykes is going to face for the Elite Pro Championship.
Yeah.
I heard rumor that he might be here at Throwdown Thursday next week to address that. That'd be.
Yeah. I mean, anytime TJ Sykes walks into the building, people take notice because the Elite Pro Heavyweight Champion has established himself to. I mean, he's defeated everybody up and down this roster over the last several months.
Yeah.
And, actually, coming up on a couple of years now, actually.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's me included. And I gave him everything, and I earned so much respect for TJ in that match that I had at Short Gap the last time at Night of the Elite because he went into a wheelhouse of something that he had never experienced, and it was something that I have been said to have been perfected. And,
Sure.
And I looked him in the eye, and like he was like, he's going to do it, and he kept going and kept going and kept going. It surprised me how much heart he had, as much as the physicality, and he brought it. And there's nothing you can say because you can't talk about, oh, he did this or he did that, because we all know in that type of match, it's a hardcore deal. There's no rules, so it's like I had every opportunity like he did, and he came out victorious and held on to that heavyweight championship, and you can't take that away from it.
Yeah, we're waiting to find out who his opponent's going to be on September the 1st in Short Gap. Our other big main event, WWE Superstar Fandango, is going to be stepping in the ring with High Tide Bodie Williams.
The High Tide Bodie Williams, one of the staples of Elite Pro since day one. And this is going to be a great matchup. This is going to be, it's just going to be a main event. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, Bodie Williams was the first match of the first event from Elite Pro almost 15 years ago. And for 12, 13 years, he was, considered by many to be like the number one fan favorite of the entire roster. And I guess it's been about a year, maybe a little more, since he turned his back on the fans. And I'll tell you what, I've never seen such real anger and heartbreak over something like this happening, especially on the independent scene, as it did with Bodie. I had a fan yesterday tell me that they hope Bodie Williams is eaten by a shark the next time he goes surfing. I mean, there it is.
Yeah, that's a passionate fan.
So we've got that match. We've got, obviously TJ Sykes is going to be doing something. He's the heavyweight champion. He has to defend the belt. Next week on Throwdown Thursday, we'll be signing Anthony Athens, who definitely has a grudge against Israel Sharif Fakor, ISP, and they will be have a contract signing for their match, presumably for the championship, on the September 1st show. That'll happen right here next week.
Absolutely. And, we have so many different things going around. Everybody's got a burr up their butt about something. In particular, we've seen a lot of tension building between Leslie Leatherman and Reggie Collins. Just a few weeks ago, Reggie basically said he's a bucket list guy. Leslie said, hey, I've known you your entire life. Literally held him whenever he was born. And, the moment Reggie, at a young age, 8, 9, 10 years old, when you talk to him, he's like, I have to be a pro wrestler. That's my life goal. And he is a pro wrestler. And then he looked at Leslie Leatherman right in the eye and said, you're a guy I wanted to wrestle since I wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
And Leatherman made it real clear. He said, I work one way. And I don't know that I want to do that to you. And Reggie's like, hey, bring it on.
Yeah.
And, can't take it away. So we'll see where that manifests and see, because both of them seemingly agreed, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
It's up in the air when, but September 1st seems like just as good a time as any because I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I spent 25 years on the road with Leatherman going town to town to town, whether I was his opponent or whether we were tag team partners as Iowan. I know what he brings to the table. When I've watched Reggie start day one all the way to where he is now and see all the successes he's had, not just in Elite Pro, but all over the wrestling business. He's popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
So, these two guys clashing, that's a contrast of styles for sure. But, man, I want to see it.
There's a lot of fans, too, looking forward to that. Just on a personal level, they're looking forward to seeing that. Something else I'm really excited about, and that is that the Elite Pro Women's Champion, Tate DeVille, will be defending the title against Lexi Steele. Lexi Steele coming from the Bob Keller camp in the Carolinas. She's just been burning up the scene in the South.
So many people, including myself, love saying they're a Keller guy, whether they hold Keller in a high status, whether he actually trained him, because there's a long reach that Bob Keller has of guys who trained under his tutelage down in the Carolinas and whatnot. And you can see the difference when you go around the locker rooms and you see a Keller guy and a guy. And so many people say a Keller guy. She's a Keller girl, from what I understand. And from what I've seen of her, she's a very formidable opponent. This is going to be a great matchup. We could have a new Elite Pro Ladies Champion. That's the God's honest truth.
I love and respect Bob Keller, like you said. He's wonderful. But I know that he's not above having one of his proteges snag an Elite Pro Championship and take it back down to the Carolinas.
Absolutely not. It certainly doesn't hurt the moniker.
Not at all.
Because when you look, you can look through countless people that roll with that label attached to them, and there's championships everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially when you go into the southern half of this country, you can find a Keller guy as a champion all over the place.
Yeah, it's funny, in wrestling, you always want to, you take what other people say with a grain of salt. You want to get to know people like as you know them and make judgments based on what you see. But a quick shortcut to that. Anytime I want to know if somebody's a person I can respect, I got 2 questions. Do you know Bob Keller? And if the answer is yes, do you like him? If the answer is no, then I already know everything I need to know about you.
Right?
Bob's great.
And then the next question is, does he like you?
Yeah. Oh, Bob's great. And then you ask him, like, I guess that guy.
Yeah, I love him. Welcome. I wouldn't pick on them if they're on fire.
Some of the best.
Nope, sorry.
Some of the best quips ever. I just heard him say to a mutual friend of ours, Shane Shadows, who's been around forever, an awesome performer and promoter. He comes out, he gets out of the car as soon as he sees him. Hey Shane, how's your wife and my kids? Hilarious.
I remind Bob all the time several years ago when we did the War Games, and he's a man that starts working when he shows up somewhere and doesn't stop until the work's done.
Yeah.
He comes rolling through and has 2 giant pieces of plywood in his arms, and he's just coming through, sweat ring halfway down his chest, and there's some of the younger guys kind of doing what younger guys do and standing around and just kind of lingering, and guys are checking their phones and whatnot. I can't give you all the verbiage, but you gonna get out of the way, or are you gonna jump in and help? You gotta pick one. But there was a whole lot of other words mixed in, and I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking briefly there of Shane Shadows, he got to make his way down to Throwdown Thursday. He fought Cowpoke Paul. Came out here and cut a promo. There were obviously several people in the crowd. It's been a long time since Shane's been in Kaiser. And there were several people that knew exactly who he was, but there were people that didn't. And one thing was for sure, after about a 60-second promo in the ring, everybody in the room hated his guts.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's an interesting thing with Elite Pro, because being so ingrained in the community, we have a lot of new faces that aren't wrestling fans, but then whenever they get in here and they see it in person, it's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome as an athletic event. It's awesome as entertainment. It's awesome just period. So then they become wrestling fans because they're here, and then they have to get reacquainted with the people that are established that are making this great. And that was a perfect example because I stood right over there because I came out to watch it whenever he came to the ring because I had a feeling what was going to happen. And there's not a lot of people that can make every person in a room hate you.
Yeah.
And that wasn't like, oh, I got booze. That was, they legitimately hate your guts, and if they know which car's yours, then you have to go buy a new tire or a new windshield, or I mean, that's the truth. I mean, he came out, he did what he does, and there was nobody in that room except for maybe us that had a little smirk because I was watching how he was.
Yeah.
This crowd was a fiddle when he was playing it.
I tell you what, we're talking about some of the new guys, the new class at Elite Pro in the training center, and I had forgotten to bring him up, which was my mistake. But Next Level Gavin Miller, kid's impressive as hell.
How do we forget him?
Yeah, he wasn't here the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
I think is what it was.
True,
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and he was doing strong. He's been doing strongman training outside of Elite Pro.
Yeah.
He's got so many other athletic ventures. That's why he stepped in here and immediately. I mean, you hear about guys catching on quickly right out of the gate. It's like a sponge, and you just see him. And not only is he puffing up with information, but he's puffing up physically because he's busting his butt because he realized once you get here, it's a deep end.
Yeah.
He's swimming like he's been doing it his whole life.
Well, his debut singles match was against Reggie Collins here at Throwdown Thursday, and I thought, he's going to go in there, he's going to do a good job, but I didn't expect him to win. Yeah. And they have this match, and it's very competitive. And at one point, he rolls his ankle, rolls out of the ring. Reggie Collins, being a good guy, comes out to check on him. At the 9 count, Gavin rolls in the ring and starts dancing around and bragging, wins by count out. And in that one instance, a debut that could have been deemed forgettable from someone that's never really wrestled before becomes something where everyone in this room instantly hates his guts. The next week, they face each other in a rematch. He pulls out brass knuckles halfway in the match, tosses him to Reggie, throws himself on the ground. Reggie gets disqualified. Now he's 2 wins. Faces him the 3rd time, and while Reggie does get the victory, he offers the hand, and Gavin basically ignores it, rolls out the ring, grabs the mic, and says, "Still beat you 2 out of 3. Everyone in the room in the first 3 weeks this kid's shown up, hates his guts, and now he's a major player. He stepped in there with Jason Radats. He's been in there with so many really, really great competitors.
Jason Radats, Brandon Scott, Reggie Collins, as you said. I mean, week after week, he steps up and he delivers. Like, the guy's got a win record. And Elite Pro coming out of the gates, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a guy that's undefeated, but hey, if you can come in here and start racking up the wins, you're just going to keep going up the ladder. And
like Dallas, he sees, some people are made for that. Some people are made to come in and see an opportunity and seize it, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. But some guys aren't. Like we said before, Andrew Stevens, he's a big guy. He's not going to move around this ring as quickly as a lot of those younger guys. So he just comes in and just makes up for it with brute force.
If you're stepping on someone's throat, they're not moving around the ring very fast.
That's true.
And that's kind of been his moniker. But yeah, everybody's bringing something different to the table. It makes for a great contrast. It makes it good for matchmaking when it comes to coming up with the cards week after week after week after week to keep things interesting. And I mean, it's exciting for us because, like you said at the very beginning of this, it's a new learning experience.
Yeah.
Because there's a different approach to filming for episodes now that we're getting into episodic, Throwdown Thursday shows that can be watched online. There's, obviously the cards being more frequent. I mean, for all these years we've done so many shows. I mean, we've had years where we get, 12, 14, 15 shows, on a good year and put them in there. But, when you're talking about promotion and, building and trying to get these shows to be as known that they're happening as possible and get them as well promoted as can be to draw those crowds, which has been a great thing that we've been able to do. Now that we're here every single week, I mean, there's so much opportunity for us to learn how to make it better because it's all the time rapid fire. It's like in the same way that we talk about these young guys getting the reps and these veteran guys getting in there and keeping their spots because they're getting those reps against those younger guys trying to come up. We're getting more reps on how to make the product better.
Yeah. No,
So
I
it's
totally
like
agree with that.
everybody across the board is becoming more polished at their tasks.
I was talking to Reggie earlier today, and I talked to.
Were you talking to Reggie, or were you listening while he was talking to you?
I was trying to get a word in edgewise while he was talking, but I was telling him, as well as when I saw Athens, talking to him and Raditz both, I said, you know, sometimes I feel like this week Tate told us this, and then the next week he tells us this, and it disagrees with what he said the previous week, and it's not so much change in my mind when it comes to production and camera angles. It's just, hey, I learned something. Now we gotta alter and adapt and evolve what we do based on new knowledge, and that's the trick to getting better. And I feel like a walking hypocrite in that way. It's like, hey guys, the hard cam's here. You know, when you come out, let's do there. But now, oh no, I need you to pay attention over here too now. And it changes as we learn. And I'd like to think we're getting better. And hopefully in the shows you can see that progression.
Yeah.
You know,
it's an evolution for sure. And it's an evolution for all of us. For us to get better at what we do on the hats that we wear. For the guys to get better, the girls to get better. The atmospheres to be more intriguing, more entertaining. I mean, everything about it.
Yeah.
And you can't let one fall behind. So there's a broad horizon here of things that we got to try to keep up, and everything's got to keep building at the same time.
And one thing about too with Elite, historically, ever since we started this, it's always at the base of it been family. I mean, it first starts with our biological family, and it branches out from there. And to have people, like Sam and Stephanie and and Belinda and Karina and Taylor working the sound, Pierce coming in and doing the lighting, and having
Tim coming in, and
Tim Walker, of course, who's always been such a hand, and having Aaron Layton, and having having Sydney come in and be back there and producing, and it's giving everybody a chance to learn so many
and over
hats.
the years, so many people that has helped like that, like I said, Travis Handrode, Rick Gillespie, so many people that have helped us along the way to get where we are right now. It's not like, hey, they were only here for a couple years, or they helped out when we went to this venue, or it was like they were a piece of the puzzle that has created the picture we have right now.
Christine Longerby, how could I not remember that? But no, absolutely. There's just so many.
We're going to
people
forget someone else, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that have put their hands on us and helped us.
There's I'll tell you right now too, especially on those big shows where we're trying to clean it up. There's a young man by the name of Brody that jumps in and works as harder than anybody else at the end of that show.
Right?
Yes.
Puts me to shame. Come on.